I'd just like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which our university stands, the Darug people. Their ancestors have been the custodians of this land for thousands of years. I'd especially like to acknowledge one of these ancestors, Pemulwuy. Pemulwuy was born in about 1750 and was one of the first Indigenous Australians to interact with the British in 1788. I have a quote here from historian Eric Wilmot about him. "Whatever anyone else could do, Pemulwuy did it better. He could run further. He was one of the best. He could use a spear like no one else could, and so around him was created an aura of difference. So much so that he was said to be a clever man." While there are a number of clever man traditions from various different First Nations, generally speaking, a clever man is a lawman, a keeper, interpreter and implementer of the law. But what is the law of the land for First Nations of Australia? I'm not an Indigenous person myself, so it's important to say that I present this as an overview of the work of academics, both Indigenous and otherwise, who have a deeper knowledge of Aboriginal cosmology, kinship and knowledge systems. I'm interpreting their ideas rather than presenting my own. So let's begin at the beginning. The archaeological evidence has led to general agreement that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have lived in Australia for over 60,000 years. So Aboriginal culture is said to be the oldest continuing culture in the world. There are many First Nations in Australia with a wide variation of cultural beliefs and cultural practices. However, there is a strong interconnection between peoples in this land, so that there is a strong sense of a shared understanding of how the world works. This cosmology, this framework for understanding and interpreting the world and the place of humans in the world, is what we call the dreaming. The dreaming is a similarity that runs through different Indigenous belief systems and is a concept that is often not easily understood by non-Indigenous people. The phrases dreaming and the dream time are English translations that don't really capture the true meaning. The dreaming is the source of life philosophy and morality, and while it's intertwined with Indigenous stories of creation, is also a constant state where both the past and the present exist together. Here's a rock artwork of the rainbow serpent in Kakadu National Park. It dates back 20,000 years. The rainbow serpent is said to have travelled through this area in human form and painted her image on a rock, here to remind people of her continuing presence. In attempting to explain what he named the dreaming, anthropologist W.E.H. Stanner used the term every-when. The dreaming embraces time, past, present and future. It's more about place than time, though. A connection to country is at the very heart of the dreaming. This connection to country is at the very heart of Aboriginal kinship networks. It is at the very heart of Aboriginal well-being. There are various European ways of describing Aboriginal kinship networks, but again, they don't really go very close to describing the system of rights and obligations that go with the ties of kinship. It is the kinship ties which determine a person's rights, responsibilities and behaviour. Aboriginal kinship and family structures are still cohesive forces which bind Aboriginal people together in all parts of Australia. The connections that these kinship ties bring are integral to an Aboriginal person's sense of self, to their understanding of being in the world, to their sense of belonging. Their spirit, your spirit, your dreaming is connected to your ties of kinship, your skin. Aboriginal people will usually say your community and your mob. It is all related to the land. Which part of the land you belong to, which country you are a part of. This deep connection to the land, connection to country, is also at the heart of Aboriginal law. Again, while there is significant variation in such a culturally diverse country, the law relating to caring for country is pretty universal. keeping country clean by burning, using country, letting it know you are there by hunting, gathering, fishing, protecting the integrity of country so that other people do not use it without permission, protecting dangerous places so that harm does not come out of that country, protecting country and the species related to it from damage, providing and educating a new generation of owners or custodians, keeping country healthy by learning and performing ceremonies. As the laws were not written down, as traditional knowledge is not written down, it needs to be passed down through the generations in a different way. In Aboriginal culture, these oral traditions are passed down through song lines, where songs are learned and passed down as well as passed along to others so that knowledge can be shared and retained over a long period of time and travel a long way. Elders will sing the country so they know what to do. These song lines are also dreaming strings so that everyone who belongs to a specific dreaming are linked through the knowledge they share about their dreaming. People know who is friend and who is foe, who they are related to, who they can and can't marry by learning their dreaming songs and stories. We see here the pigeon dreaming string from anthropologist Deborah Bird Rose's book Dingo Makes Us Human. You see that the songlines that pass on and share knowledge about the pigeon dreaming go from Gurindji country, up through Bilinara country, through Karapuru country, all the way up to Galawuru country. And so, over millennia, traditional ecological knowledge is handed down from generation to generation. Aboriginal people had developed highly sophisticated land management practices, using fire to place plants and animals exactly where they needed them. Everything was in balance. The land wasn't terra nullius, it wasn't a no man's land, it was a complex interaction of a large number of different peoples from different countries, all with the same spiritual belief in the essential need to continuously care for country. And so the First Nations of Australia have a deep connection to the land that demonstrates their sovereignty for millennia, a sovereignty that was not interrupted with the arrival of the British in 1788, a sovereignty that has never been ceded. I'm Diane Colman. Thank you.